Hello and welcome to another episode of our Bison Catholic Student Testimonies. Really excited to be with you again. Today I have with us one of our former students, Noah Hitchcock. Welcome, Noah.
Thank you.
Yeah, why don't you start off by letting our audience know a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Noah Hitchcock. I'm a former student. I just graduated in December of 2024. I guess it's 2025 now, with a business administration degree and a minor in sales, and then I had a certificate of sales, minor in entrepreneurship. I'm sorry. I'm from Ham Lake, Minnesota. I grew up going to Blaine High School, and I came to NDSU and been in college until this past December. So
nice. Yeah. What are your plans right after this?
I'm gonna go be a focus missionary. I'll have that for the next 2 years, and we'll see where the Lord takes me from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So
Thank you.
what was that discernment like? You know, as you came into college, right? And you probably had one set of plans, and now you've wrapped up, and you're going to do something probably that wasn't on your radar at the beginning. So
Definitely.
tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, that was not part of my original plan coming into college. I came in originally wanting to be a math education major, to become a math teacher. I thought I'd want to go back to the cities, the Twin Cities area, I should say. But that changed pretty quickly. I ended up becoming a business finance. And then,
Is that because math is hard?
well, yeah, I couldn't do Calc 2. I couldn't do Calc 2. That was my whole thing.
Look, I was a biologist for a reason.
Yeah.
Math is hard.
Math is hard. I was really good at math up until Calc 2, and then that just showed me that I shouldn't be a math major. I came in and I didn't really know anything about the Newman Center, which is crazy to think about where I am now. Yeah. And I had a friend invite me to a Bible study. And originally I thought when we were walking to the Bible study from the dorms, we were walking towards the Union. So I'm like, oh, we're just going to go to Chi Alpha. And because I had known of that, my RA had been a part of that. He'd led a Bible study. And so I'm like, oh, okay, we're just going there. And then we ended up walking past the Union. And I'm like, hey, dude, it's back there. And he's like, no, we're going to the Newman Center, Bison Catholic. And I'm like, what the heck is Bison Catholic? Where are you bringing me? He brought me there, and that kind of started getting me involved. And then I went to that one Bible study, and I actually made excuses for the next probably month or two to not go back to the Bible study. It was a very humbling experience for me. They said that we were looking at the Gospel of Matthew, I believe, and I had no idea where that was. I think that might have been the first time I'd ever opened a Bible.
It's somewhere in the book, maybe.
Yep.
Presumably, it's in the Bible.
Yeah,
we're at a Bible study.
Yeah, I didn't bring my own. They just handed me a book, and I opened it. I'm like, yeah, Matthew, I know where that is. Yeah, and I did not
recognize the name.
Yeah, maybe. And then I don't know. There's a lot in between, which we can talk about, but I ended up getting invited to go by one of our focus missionaries, I should say, to go to an interview weekend, and I went, and I just had an incredible time. And then as the weekend went on, I don't know. I was just kind of feeling like I was on this retreat high, spiritual high, and so I'm like, okay, I just need to calm down. Yeah. But then I ended up having spiritual direction very last minute. With one of the chaplains that were there, and I had been telling him about how I was feeling, that this high that I was feeling, and he looked me in the eyes and he's like, Noah, this isn't a retreat. Like if you're feeling convicted here, this is just a small glimpse of what you'd be living, the people you'd be living with, the life you'd be living with, the holy hours and daily mass. And so that just kind of gave me my answer, and there was a lot of peace with that. Yeah. And then I feel like this year, especially, because I said yes in December of 2023.
Almost a year ago, right?
That was I think it was more than a year ago. It was December of 2023, I believe. I said yes, but I won't go to training until this upcoming May 2025.
Yeah.
But so this year's been really big for me, and kind of seeing why and like the Lord's just been placing the purpose behind why I'm doing this.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about that, because a lot of people hire on as a focus missionary, and it's within the year, right, or the immediately preceding that summer they would go to summer training. But you did it a little different. You were an early hire because you still had, a full year plus of school when you said yes to being a focus missionary. What did that year look like? Because I can imagine a lot of different ways where maybe doubt enters in a little bit. Like, did that ever happen for you where you're like, did I make the right decision? Do I really want to do this? Or was it consolation and like conviction all the way through?
Yeah, there were definitely times where the lies would creep in. I've honestly been so blessed to not have major moments of desolation.
Yeah.
There's been a ton of conviction with this decision of mine. And I think that just is through the involvement that I have at the Newman Center, in the ways in which I'm kind of living as like in a very small way as I will be as a missionary.
Yeah. So you've already started modeling that lifestyle, in your last couple semesters as a student. Obviously, as you grow as a leader and you're taking on more of that responsibility of your own Bible study. But then in this, call it a gap semester or whatever you want to call this, you graduated in the fall, but you sort of have this new freedom and flexibility. You're able to sort of mirror or parallel that a little bit.
Yeah, I've been able to be a lot more intentional, I would say. I kind of replaced school with another part-time job, as far as like my scheduling goes. But then I just get to be a lot more intentional with the guys that I have, and I've had the opportunity to walk with and I guess lead in those ways. Yeah. And so it's been a huge blessing, and just week after week I just know that those are some of the best times that I have. Just like that hour with my Bible study, that hour that I have with one of my guys that I walk with in discipleship.
And I think there's something important here, because you said a part-time job. What's that part-time job?
I actually work two part-time jobs. One of them's a Zamboni driver. The guy that
this is huge.
Yeah. That was like my high school job. Yeah. It's an easy one to pick up.
This is true love.
Yeah.
This is real passion.
Yeah.
Not many guys can say that. Like, Dumb and Dumber, that movie where he flashes his ID. He's like, it's okay, I'm a limo driver. You can be like, it's okay, I'm a Zamboni driver. Yeah. You can say that unironically, and that's awesome.
I keep it on my resume. There's no real job experience that I can show for it, but it's always a great talking point.
My guess is that gets you any job you want for the rest of your life.
It at least lets me show my true personality, because I can just be a little goofy, and it's just like, I'm a Zamboni driver. It's like, what is it?
Sure.
Yeah.
But what's the other one?
My other part-time job, I work at, we have a men's homeless shelter called the New Life Center in Fargo. And I was given the opportunity this past December to apply. And I did, and I don't know, the Lord just brought me that opportunity. They had offered me a job, and I just felt really convicted to say yes. And so I've just been doing that as I can, as they need me. Yeah. What's
the day-to-day look like there?
The day-to-day is different every single day. So my job is working with the guys, kind of like I'm face-to-face with the guys for the most part. Like whatever they need, checking them in. If a new guy comes in, running through everything with him, doing the whole process, getting him a bed. If anybody really needs like anything little that they're not able to get themselves, because we have some stuff locked away, and we're like the front line, and it's just been such a huge blessing being able to work there. It's different being like it's a service job, and I feel I don't know. There's some days where I'm like, I'm getting paid to do this, but it's also like I love being there. I love the service aspect. It's really cool just being able to see the human dignity within that, because I think so, like even in my life before going into that, it's just kind of the stereotypes that kind of creep in, and you just like start to believe them. But then once you're in it, you get to talk to them like they're like real human beings.
They have stories, right? They didn't just end up there by there's probably a sequence of events, and now they're in this situation, but
Yep.
they haven't necessarily, like you said, lost their human dignity. They retain that,
Mm-hmm.
and they have the same probably wants and desires and hopes and dreams that any of us would, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's cool. I can't say I know everyone's story there, but it's just the opportunities that I get sometimes, just hear even little glimpses of it, are awesome. And I just, even on the worst days when I just don't want to do anything, don't want to be there, I always feel like I leave the shelter, and I love it. Yeah, and it's just getting to know the guys more and more as you like learn their names and learn things about them, hear about them getting jobs or housing. There's not much better.
Yeah, you get to meet them in their poverty and in their need, but then you get to accompany them also in their celebration and their joys, and hopefully see some of them, rise out of that homeless condition, that it really is a temporary thing. And that's got to be a rewarding feeling when there's a connection there. Even on a remote level, it's like, oh no, I got to walk with that guy for a time, and now look where he's at. He's kind of back on his feet.
Yeah, that's what I tell every guy whenever we call it an intake, and so that's when a new guy comes in. We do all the paperwork and run through kind of the rules, regulations of the place, and then get him a bed. And so that's what I tell them every time. It's just like, we're so happy that you came here, and that you're looking for housing in this difficult time. But we don't want you here forever in the best way. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so that's always something that I try and tell them during those intakes, because like it's true. Like we love that they're there. I love the opportunity that I get to meet them, especially where they're at. But I want to see them. This is a place to get them up off their feet.
Yeah. So you're working at the New Life Center. You're still leading your Bible study and discipling other students at the Newman Center. You've been on mission trips too.
I have.
Right. You just come off of one.
I did just come off of one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us about some of your mission trip experiences then.
Yeah. So I've actually only been on 2 total, and they've been within the past year, both of them.
Have they both been since you said yes to hiring?
Yes.
On Focus. Okay.
They both have been. That doesn't have anything to do with it, coincidentally. But I actually was planning on going on one the past summer, but then I kind of backed out on that. And then I told myself, it's just like, no matter what, you're doing it. You're going on the one this upcoming summer. And so that ended up being in Arequipa, Peru. And so that's where I think the servant's heart kind of really just attached it, or like the service side of things just really like attached itself to me. And I just loved being there. It was extremely uncomfortable. We were working with a religious order on a orphanage for disabled children. And they called them children, but the youngest guy, it was an all men's one that we were at. But the youngest guy was 18. I think the oldest one was around 35.
Okay.
I want to say. But yeah, it was so uncomfortable for me. I didn't grow up around that. And I didn't know what to do. I feel like that I need to treat them differently or something like that, and I mean, to an extent, you can't do this. I can't do the same thing as I do with my younger brother.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they're not human. And I feel like it took me, I'm hard on myself. And so I tell myself that it took me too long to recognize that.
Sure.
But by the end of it, it was incredible. And you go there to serve, but honestly, I look back at that mission trip, and I just feel like they served me way more than I ever served them.
It's I quote this all the time, but the Second Vatican Council and Gaudium et Spes, John Paul II would often quote this, but we only find ourselves in a sincere gift of self, right? It's called the law of the gift. And it's really, really important, because it's exactly what you're describing right now is you grew, right? And that's great. God wanted that for you. But it was only in the process of you breaking through that discomfort, emptying your own life out, pouring your own life out for others. It's only in that process that we really kind of find okay, what is this? And you said there was this discovery of a servant heart, right? That through that experience, you were led to a deeper discovery. And I think that's an amazing thing that I wish more and more people knew, that yes, it's going to cost you probably everything that you have in that moment, right? But you're going to get back something that you can't even fathom, because the Lord is ready to bestow that grace upon you. And it gets really addicting over time when we do this, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see what the next thing is. And it gets easier to say yes to those things in one sense over time, because we know on the other side of it is this greater growth, this greater capacity for our Lord and His grace.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. I remember one of the things that a volunteer there had said to us, when it wasn't even us as a group, it just said to one of us, and I forget who it was, but she had said that the children there, like the guys there, were spiritually rich but physically poor, whereas we were physically rich but spiritually poor. And it was just cool to just like hear more about that, because you'd hear about some of the guys, like you'd hear about them like praying the rosary or being able to serve at mass to some capacity, and just hearing about the faith that they had, it was incredible. Because when I walked in all honesty, I wouldn't have guessed at all that they knew about, especially our Catholic faith. It's just, but yeah, a couple days go by, you see one of the guys walking around with a rosary in hand. Another guy is saying the Hail Mary. It's so cool.
You realize that I'm not the only one the Lord is drawing unto Himself, right? And our experiences are radically different, yet because He became one of us, assumed our humanity fully and completely, He's able to connect with every man, every woman, every child, every single person where they are at. And it's one of the great mysteries of why He chose the path of suffering and the path of the cross, is that there is no experience that is foreign to Him. I mean, as God, right, he it all came from Him, it'll all return from Him. There's nothing that is apart from Him in that sense, but in His humanity, He had to experience it like we experience it. And so I think whether it's being hungry, tired, happy, sad, whatever it is, our Lord has been there. And so because of that, He's able to connect with us in that way. And I think you're witnessing that, and when you came across those that you were going to serve.
Yeah.
So you said yes to Focus over a year ago. You're still awaiting your first summer training. And in between this, you had a number of experiences that weren't necessarily connected to you saying yes to Focus, but it's interesting because I asked you the question, has it been hard? Have you had temptations to change your mind? And one thing that occurs to me is, because you said that not really, maybe a couple times, but you've been actually more confirmed in this, more convicted in this, consoled in this decision. I would argue it's because you've continually sought self-gift, right? That you weren't just waiting on the sidelines over this last year plus, but that actually you're seeking out opportunities for further self-gift, greater self-gift. And because of that, the Lord is strengthening and confirming that call that He's already given you, right? So I think that's an important point, is that it's one thing to say yes and then just passively wait. It's another thing to say yes and say, I'm just going to start right now in every way that's available to me before me. And that's, I think, what you've done. So.
Yeah, I think with that servant's heart that was kind of placed upon me through these mission trips, I just been wanting to see all different aspects of it, just like being able to see all different kinds of ministries and all different kinds of people and ages, and it's been crazy, the different encounters I've been able to have this year, especially like since Peru, the people that I've been able to encounter and just like I know I probably won't be able to stretch myself like this for the rest of my life. So just like seeing what ministries the Lord does give me an opportunity with that I can be a part of, and then seeing where he takes me from that. Obviously, the next 2 years are going to be focused, but for the rest of my life, who knows what that's going to look like, and who knows what kind of ministry I'll be able to serve going forward.
Well, and I think he'll clarify that further call as you go. That's the grand adventure of it all, is that we actually don't know what's around the next bend. And that could both be frightening or exciting, or maybe a mix of both, depending on what it is. But the assurance that he's called us and that he's with us presently in it, that's where I think the real confidence will come from in this, is that literally he's with us in it. And that's the whole goal. You read John chapter 17, and it's all about that. This is eternal life, that they would know the one true God and Jesus Christ whom he had sent. And then 3 times Jesus prays that they would be one, Father, as you and I are one, that they would be one with us, right? And it's that union of which we're always seeking after. I want to shift gears a little bit, because you've had a sort of a multi-year experience here at the Newman Center. In some ways, you've had your hand in just about everything the Newman Center offers and Bison Catholic offers. You've led Bible studies, you've discipled people, you've been a peer minister, you've gone on mission trips. Like literally, when I think about Noah, I think he's done it all, right? So I want to ask you an important question, because I'm honestly genuinely curious about this, and it's something that I'm praying for and fasting for and wanting other people to join me in this. What does today's college student need the most?
Immediately, I think of a talk that I listened to at Seek 2 years ago by Jonathan Rise. And he had said, isolation is the world's greatest poverty. And I've thought about that probably at least weekly since he said that 2 years ago. And that's what I think of. I think college students need community. I think in some part of everybody's heart, whether like a very small piece or the whole of it, we want something more. We want greater purpose. And especially for me, when I came to college, I knew I wanted that, but I didn't know what that looked like.
Yeah, it needs to be demonstrated. It actually needs to be shown, because there's probably not a credible example of it in a genuine form out there right now.
Yeah, and I think about, there are probably students, I know there's students that'll be in the dining center. There's hundreds of people in the dining center, but I guarantee you they are just have a feeling of isolation, where it's just like it's just only them. You know, even though they're surrounded by tons of different people. Yeah. You know, and I think that's just something that everybody needs, but I mean, I think especially in college, when everybody's trying to find themselves, everybody's trying to find who they are, who they want to be, where they're going to go.
Yeah, it's the first time they've left their parents' house and really probably have gotten to ask that question for themselves, for better or for ill. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, like from personal experience, like I've definitely had that. I've sat in my dorm freshman year and just thought about, what the heck am I supposed to do? I know I want to do something. And immediately my mind turned to, okay, I'm just going to make as much money as I can. You know, I'm going to put my head down. I'm going to study finances. I'm going to study like how to like entrepreneurship. And like, how am I going to do the best that I can? Because that's just what I thought. That's just what I thought the purpose was, just to make as much money as you can, to do as well as you can. But as far as like doing as well as you can, I think my gears have kind of shifted from monetary value to like this purpose and service, and just like how important people are.
Yeah, taking Jesus at his word when he says, "Do not store up treasure for yourselves on earth, where moth can destroy and thief can steal. Rather, store up treasure for yourself in heaven." Right? I think that's what you're describing.
Yeah, and I don't know. I was never, especially when I think about my experience, like I was never praying about it specifically. You know, I knew that I wanted it, and I knew that I didn't have it. And the Lord just met me where I was at. He brought me the people that I needed. He gave me the opportunities to say yes that I needed, and I'd said yes. That brought me into this greater community. It brought me out of this poverty that I was in, which I feel like poverty can be a trigger word sometimes, but we all have our own poverty.
We do.
And I think that's not, I don't know. I don't know if we allow ourselves to recognize that, or if that's just too extreme for us. Like we have food on our plate, we have clothes on us, but we're still, I mean, especially in spiritual poverty.
Yeah. Mother Teresa, who's right above your head, you can't see her there, but I do. See her. Is famous for pointing that out, that the West is the spiritually poorest of the poor. And I think that's exactly right. We're so distracted by the stuff of this earth, and we have it in such abundance. I often remind my kids and my family, you guys, we live greater than kings and queens did throughout most of human history. Right here in this household, we have heat or air conditioning. Every one of us has the most comfortable bed, more than probably any king or queen. We have clean running water at will, right? And the things we don't want, you just flush the toilet and it goes away, or throw it outside in the trash and they come pick it up, and there is such ease and comfort in our life. So what are we going to do with it? And I think it's such a profound question, because I don't know if anybody in human history has had the opportunity we have to do the things that we have. And yet, so many of us get caught in the trap, I guess, of that material prosperity, and our souls wither. And I think that's the story of the West, especially in America. But we all have a deep need there, and I think you've hit it right on the head. You mentioned isolation, right? And what our college students today need is community. What's the most effective way in your experience to help bring that about?
Most effective way? I think about, in a very small way, just the people that will ask just the very simple questions, but with great genuineness.
Yeah.
The people that are willing to do that, they may not know how big of an impact that they make. I think about one guy who just, I went to a Bison Catholic night. I think it was my first, maybe second night. Going to that, I was kind of dragged to it by my friend.
Yeah. That's a good friend, by the way.
Yeah.
Come on, you're coming to this.
Yeah. But yeah, the guy shook my hand, asked me my name, asked me a few questions, learned that we were from similar areas, and so kind of connected on that a little bit. It wasn't a very deep conversation, but I'll remember that for the rest of my life. And I think about that even with how I want to live my life, and just how many people you just don't know what's going on, and especially if you don't recognize them, like how hard. I mean, sometimes it will be very hard, but like for the Lord, like the skill set that the Lord has given me, like it's fairly easy for me to just go up and ask somebody, like, hey, what's your name? Yeah.
Which is one of the most basic hospitable actions that we can give, is see them, ask them their name, remember their name, and then take a genuine interest in them in the most basic level. It stuck out in your memory, right? I'll never forget that, right? And it's so simple. I mean, we can all do that to the people that are unknown to us, so that they feel known and loved, right? Because I think that's that deep, deep, deep desire of every human heart. And when they don't have that, it produces the isolation that you described. But how easy it is for us to break through that.
And I think it's so easy as well on the other side to have those lies creep in. It's like, this person doesn't want to talk to you. They don't care. Like, they're fine, all this different stuff. But, like, as soon as you just kind of take that first step into the unknown, and just shake the first hand, ask the first person their name, whatever it is, like, it can just snowball from there. It's just, and how many people can, not that you can impact, necessarily making it like quantifying it, but just like thinking about, like even your own experience. I bet you in some capacity we've all experienced that, maybe especially in college, I would say. And like what did we need in being that for others?
Yeah, because I think about just my own experience. I know a number of times where I've seen somebody and I can tell they're nervous. They're looking around. They don't know anybody. They're in a crowd of people, and they think they're the only one that doesn't know anybody here. Where the reality is actually it's probably about 50-50. And some people know about half the people. Everyone else is kind of unknown to them, and it's a real big mashup. But I have distinct memories of walking up to a person, asking their name, shaking their hand, and then just making a brief connection. I'm not even the one that welcomes, because who wants to really hang out with the creepy middle-aged guy, right? I mean, so I always find one of you guys, and I'm like, hey, there's Noah. I'm going to go, hey, and make an introduction, and that's it. And then I kind of recede into the background, and people like yourself take over, right? And then all of a sudden, that's a regular face, and the name is known to everybody, and they come out of their shell a little bit. Their personality starts expressing itself in all of its uniqueness, right? And then they start to flourish, right? They start to bear fruit. They start to take God's call more seriously. It's not a complicated playbook, if you will. Like, it's pretty simple, but what it does take is intentionality and time. Some of those things that you got to give them a little bit of runway. We like airplanes here because of Father Cheney, so I'm always using runway analogies. But you have to give them a little bit of space to kind of launch and take off. And so I think there is kind of a simple formula to it. Be hospitable, know their name, take a genuine interest in who they are, connect them with like-minded, like-hearted people, and then their humanity in some ways takes care of the rest. Because the deep innate human desire that we all have for communion. So what are you most excited about then going forward? You're going to hit your first summer training this summer, and then the great beyond, right? Where the good Lord wills you.
I from everybody that I've known that has gone to training and knows me has just been telling me how much I'm going to love training. I'm a very social guy, and so
you're not going to sleep much. I'll tell you. The social guys never sleep.
That's what I'm kind of gathering a little bit. Which the Lord will give me the opportunities and put the people in front of me that He wants to put in front of me. I'm really excited for that, and just being able to experience the whole of it will be great. And then I don't know, I just like I said with college students need community. Just being able to be even just a small part, like creating a community, or at least like letting the Lord work through me to create a community. And wherever I'm sent, I just want to get to know the guys that I'll be working with, get to know new people, just being able to give them a face where, I don't know, I can't necessarily say to bring them out of their isolation, but to give them just someone that wants to see them and wants to know them. And that's just who I kind of want to be as far as focus goes. And who knows where that'll be. I was reading a book called He Leadeth Me, and I know that you really like that book. But there's a chapter in it, and Father Walter Chisek, he talks about how the Lord either has us be like the people that are seeding, the people that are watering the seeds, the people that are reaping the harvest. It's never going to be our seeds, like our plants to be watering or our harvest to harvest, but obviously it's not going to be like one for one most of the times, but you will be that in some capacity. And so just preparing for whatever that is, whether that is just like planting seeds to random college students that I might meet, or being able to water the seeds that have already been planted by missionaries before me or students before me, or just being able to like reap the harvest and see these students completely take over and see the Newman Center explode, whatever it may be.
Yeah, and I've experienced that so many different times, what you're describing over the last 20 years, where sometimes I'm the Lord has called me to a really tough patch of ground where we're sowing and we're sowing and we're sowing. And it's just really hard mission field where things aren't taking root. They're not bearing a ton of fruit, maybe a really stunted growth in fruit. And then there's other places where the Lord said, okay, now come over here. And I don't even have to try. It's like, okay, same approach, same fundamentals, right? Just remaining near him in prayer. And all of a sudden, it's at every turn, it's like just this abundant harvest is just falling down. It's like, I don't even know. It's like the catch of fish. Like the boats were in danger of sinking for the number of fish, right? And it's like that. And it does take a certain humble disposition and a faith to say, Lord, wherever you call me, I'll simply do the labor that you have set out before me, not counting the cost and not looking for the reward, right? And when we do that, I think that's where it bears the most fruit. And I don't know, and I probably won't know till heaven, the full impact of those tough patches of ground. Maybe there was a seed that was sown that was going to take years or decades to fully take root and germinate and then bear the fruit. It's like, and it becomes not just some stalk of wheat, but a mighty oak tree. And that took time. And the seed was planted way long ago, and unbeknownst to any who labored in the early stages, there's a great saint. And I think our life will be filled to our great surprise if we're faithful to a number of those encounters and opportunities along the way. But we should pray for that faith, because I don't think it's obvious or natural to us just to say, oh yeah, we're Americans. We want instant gratification. We want that reward. We want the payday, you know. And it takes something different, I think, to work in God's vineyard.
Yeah. Another thing that Walter Chiswick talks about in that chapter was that the people that you minister to are not yours either. You know, it's just like, I want to save these people. I want to bring them to heaven. I want to make them a focused missionary. I want them to lead a Bible study, all this different stuff. It's like, if the Lord wants them to, like they will.
Are all like great things, right? But it's the Lord's.
Yeah, it's not ours. And I think that's something that I think about often, especially with the guys that I have had the opportunity to walk with. And it's they're not mine. It's not me. You know, like I just get to be the vessel for them, which is great. And I'm very grateful for it. At the same time, like whatever the Lord does with them, and where they say yes or where they say no is not on me. It's right. Like I can give invitations as the Lord puts it on my heart, and I can tell them what I know. But at the end of the day, it's not up to me to get them to heaven. You know, it's going to be the Lord's plan for them.
It's Jesus who saves, right? Jesus who saves. Yeah, it's amazing. Well, Noah, this has been a great conversation. I've really appreciated it. I'll give you the opportunity for the last word. What would you like to share with the audience, or maybe a student that's going to run across this sometime in the future? What would you say to either one?
Yeah, I think what I would say is, and what's been on my heart lately, is being comfortable with being uncomfortable. I think it takes a lot to take that big step, or that big first step into or outside of your comfort zone, but there's so much growth. You know, being able to talk to someone that you might not be comfortable with, or, you know, leading in some way, or taking just the opportunities that the Lord gives you to step outside of that comfort zone, because that's where the most growth will come. That's where growth will come, is in doing that, in whichever the Lord, or whatever opportunities the Lord gives you. Because I mean, you can force it, and I feel like in times in my life I'd try and force myself to be uncomfortable, which in some cases is good, but also I don't need to force opportunities. I'm not God. He will give me opportunities as I ask for them, and as I take my steps forward in my life and in my faith life.
Yeah.
So
it's a very mature and wise posture. So glory to God.
Thank you.
A great witness. So thanks, Noah, for doing this interview and sharing a little bit about your story and testimony with the Bison Catholic community, whether they be students or benefactors. It's been a treat getting to work alongside you these years, but in particular this morning, getting to have this conversation. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you all who have listened, if you're listening on audio or watching on YouTube. And go to bisoncatholic.org, words, right? bisoncatholic.org to check out more about St. Paul's Newman Center and our ministries here. And if you happen to be watching or listening to this sometime in the summer of 2025 or later, go onto Focus's website and look up Noah Hitchcock and join his support team, because every missionary needs more people on their support team. So maybe if the Lord's tugging your heart and you want to support a great missionary like Noah, that'd be a great place to go and connect with them. But God bless you all, and thanks for joining us for this edition of Bison Catholic Student Testimonies. God bless.